So I want to get us started because we've got a packed agenda, as you may have heard. And we wanted to get going with someone who I think can give us a slightly different perspective than what you might traditionally hear. We have one of Africa's leading philanthropists and business people to start us this afternoon. He is the chair of the United Bank for Africa, which has 35 million customers around the world. He chairs Nigeria's largest publicly listed conglomerate, which works a lot in the energy space, one of the areas we're talking about when it comes to private sector investment and development. And importantly for these discussions, he founded and runs the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Tony Elumelu. Great to see you, Tony. Okay, so Tony, there's a lot of things I want to ask you, but I just want to start with UN General Assembly in general. You don't have to be here. Why do you come here?
I think first, good afternoon, everyone. Raj, thanks for this opportunity. I'm here at the UN General Assembly, not just this time, but I keep coming. I heard what you said about your experience and why people come. I come because of what we do.
That's good. That's good. That's work.
I come because of what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation. We believe in economically empowering young Africans. We believe in empowering a generation of African entrepreneurs whom we believe will help to catalyze economic prosperity on the continent. And we know that we cannot do it alone. At the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we touch lives, but we can do more if we come together. So when I have opportunity like this to sit with world leaders, UNGA, Davos, etc., Devex platforms, I seize the opportunity to propagate the need for all of us to come together in this new age and time to put resources together, prioritize our young ones, both in Africa and elsewhere in the world, to make sure that collectively we made the kind of progress that helps us to achieve our human development goals.
So, Tony, you mentioned Davos and UNGA, and you are a fixture at a lot of these global convenings. We see each other at many of these opportunities where political leaders, business leaders, philanthropic leaders get together. What do you think we're getting wrong? I mean, the headlines this year at the UN General Assembly is we're missing, and it's true. We are only 15% of the way toward the SDGs, and we're halfway there in terms of time to the goal. What are we missing as a broader development community?
I think that we know what to do. We know what to do. What is missing is a willpower to get those things done and to get them done immediately. So it's the lack of ability to execute on time, and we need to face reality, face issues, and forget about optics. That, in my viewpoint, is what is missing. We need to come together and start acting, start doing, and start comparing notes about what we've achieved. Yesterday, at the Tony Elumelu Foundation and UBA offices, we launched the TEF Tony Elumelu Foundation Impact Report. Why are we doing this? We believe that philanthropy is investment. It's an investment that needs returns. And the kind of returns we need to see is what we set out to do, are we doing it or not? Tell us, let's look at ourselves very critically. We need a third eye to look at what we're doing. Our commitment, our promise, are we fulfilling it? Is it otherwise? So you need to stop, assess the journey, but keep your eyes focused on getting things done, because that is what helps us to move the needle. That is a problem we have in the world today.
There's a big debate, Tony, in the philanthropy community, right? Some philanthropists, maybe more like the Gates Foundation, are very data-driven, strategy-driven. Others, like Mackenzie Scott, are writing blank checks to organizations closer to the ground. You've had to think about how do you want to spend, I think now over $100 million commitment that you've made to philanthropy. How did you decide to do what you're doing? And what do you think of the debate in the philanthropic world?
You need to know my life story to understand what we do and why we do what we do. So 13 years ago, my wife and I decided that we need to set up the Tony Elumelu Foundation and endow with $100 million to help democratize luck, to help give economic hope to others, to help economically empower young ones. It's born out of our realization that who was Tony Elumelu, or who was Awele Elumelu, almost nobody. But we've seen through our endeavors in the private sector, but more importantly, God and luck, that we've been able to accomplish what we've accomplished. And we look around ourselves, around us in Africa. There are people who are even more intelligent than we are, who are very ambitious, energetic. Our young ones have all of this, but they need seed capital. They need training and mentoring. They need networking for opportunities, and they need the right operating environment to succeed. So this is why we decided to do what we do at the foundation, to play our own role in helping to catalyze luck. We realize that what counts is not how much we have in our bank statements. What counts is the impact that we make ultimately. And so to us, it's not out of the abundance, from the abundance of wealth. It's more of prioritizing, just letting this go so that I can do what we do through the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
So we've got a new president of the World Bank in Ajay Banga. I think you may know Ajay.
We have drinks this evening, so whatever you see here, my pastor.
Yeah, you can ask him this question then. You're very involved in the electricity sector in Nigeria. The World Bank, under the new leadership of Ajay Banga, is really trying to crowd in companies like yours, investors like yours. They want to see much more private sector investment in places like Nigeria. What is your advice to the World Bank to actually make that happen? And beyond the World Bank, to the broader multilateral development bank system?
So first is access to electricity is so critical for the development of, especially Africa in the 21st century. We have over 1.3 billion people on the continent, and less than 40% of our people have access to electricity, the way you have it in this part of the world. So we cannot talk of transforming Africa in the 21st century without fixing electricity. And so I think World Bank prioritizing electricity is so critical for the world, but more importantly for Africa. The second point is where we are today in the world, in light of the conversations about green energy and green economy, we need to think of a combination therapy. So a combination therapy, wind, solar, hydro, gas to power, everything, a combination, so that we can move the needle. There's so much electricity deficit in Africa. And to fix it, we need a combination therapy. So I welcome the prioritization of electricity by the new World Bank president. It's commendable. All of us should support it. That to me is critical in unlocking and helping to prosper Africa.
We only get a few minutes of your time up here, so I'm trying to hit you with as many questions as we can. We're almost done. I just want to know, there's a lot of talk about Ukraine, rightfully, at this UN General Assembly, but you come from a region where there's been recently a lot of instability. I'm thinking about Gabon, I'm thinking of Niger. Your president, President Tinubu, is reportedly telling fellow leaders in ECOWAS, look, if we don't address this, it can spread. And I think about what the World Bank is trying to do. I think about what so many NGOs and humanitarian agencies here are trying to do. And really, it becomes almost impossible when you see that level of lack of governance and lack of security. What do you think is happening in the Sahel region? What's happening in that neighborhood, and what message do you want the UN to know about it?
I think the solution to political instability is good leadership. Good leadership, poverty eradication, job for our young ones, and getting our women economically empowered. Those are things that will stop the political instability we have. There's no amount of meetings, conventions who can change it. So the earlier our leaders realize that good leadership, poverty eradication, prosperity is critical for stable and good governance, the better for all of us.
Yeah, and I do hope that your presence here and many of the others who are in this room are going to help elevate some of those issues, because they are certainly consequential for us to reach the Sustainable Development Goals or have any chance of getting there.
I agree so much with you.
Tony Elumelu, thank you so much for helping us kick off the Devex at UNGA Summit. And I'm going to pass it on. We're going to keep going. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Right. And keep up what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you.